This week, Johnny Robot puts Watch Dogs under the microscope to see if Ubisoft's hacking adventure lived up to the hype. Jimmy the Geek wonders why nobody's made a decent Superman video game, and I catch up with Mike Micah about upcoming ID at Xbox title, iDub. This is Player Attack. Hi, I'm Jessica Citizen, and this week saw Chinese team Newbie crowned Dota 2 champions following an action-packed weekend at the International 4. The team, formed in February specifically to take part in the tournament, took home a share of the largest video game prize pool in history, with more than $5 million going to the 5 players, their coaches and managers. To put that into perspective, it is more than Novak Djokovic picked up after beating Roger Federer at Wimbledon. Runners-up Vici Gaming took home nearly $1.5 million, and the best of 5 match was broadcast live across the US on ESPN, showing that televised esports is no longer purely an Asian phenomenon. Following a super successful event like the International, it's no surprise that Valve is already hinting at similar event for another game, potentially Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Games made an international impact this week, pardon the pun. First up, we learned that China is finally getting ready to battle the darkness in Diablo 3, more than 2 years after the game launched for the rest of the world. A deal has finally been struck between Blizzard and longtime partner NetEase. No reason has been given for the delay and no release date has been announced, but given China's feelings towards in-game skeletons, we're guessing the undead gave the nation a little grief. Also causing grief in a very different way, Manuel Noriega, the former military dictator of Panama. He's suing Activision over his appearance in Call of Duty Black Ops 2. You see, the shooter features a number of real-world political characters, including JFK, Fidel Castro, and former CIA director David Petraeus, but it seems to have upset Noriega. The former dictator is suing for damages, claiming that Activision used his image in an effort to increase the popularity and revenue generated by Black Ops 2. That wasn't the only court case related to gaming though. A couple in China has sold not one but 2 newborn children into child trafficking as a way of raising money to help pay for their crippling gaming addiction. According to Chinese media, soon after the couple had their first baby, they were faced with a decision: spend money raising their son or spend money on in-app purchases. The child was soon sold to the black market. When the second child was born, the couple's situation had not improved, so they sold the second child as well. After a family member raised the alarm with police, both parents ended up in jail facing trial. Moving right along, the team at BioWare want to know what you want in the next Mass Effect game. The studio has opened up an online survey that asks a whole bunch of questions to figure out what should be in the game and what should be better left out. Questions include finding out which other games you enjoy playing, how much you love Mass Effect as a series, what gameplay effects you're most looking forward to, is it combat, is it customization, is it the story, and how much time you spend playing RPGs each week. For the URL, head to playerattack.com and we will hook you up. Microsoft has kept very quiet on the topic of digital pre-orders, but Sunset Overdrive developer Insomniac Games may have let the cat out of the bag, announcing that while you can't digitally pre-order the game on Xbox One just yet, you will be able to do it soon, meaning that gamers who don't need a physical copy won't miss out on Day 1 edition pre-order content. Sony announced digital pre-orders for the PlayStation 4 last month. And speaking of pre-order bonuses, 2K Games has announced just what you'll get for WWE 2K15 if you get in early. It seems that one of sports entertainment's most iconic characters is getting ready for showtime. WWE 2K15 is headed to Xbox 360, Xbox One, PS3 and PS4 on October 28, and we are expecting a few more details about Sting sometime before that. Similarly, we're expecting more about NBA 2K15 as well. 2K has just confirmed that the soundtrack for this year's basketball title will be curated by Mr. Happy himself, Pharrell Williams, stepping into the mighty big shoes of Jay-Z. In other news, we have learned that Adam West has a starring role in LEGO Batman 3 Beyond Gotham, but the veteran actor will not be taking on the title role. Instead, Mr. West will be appearing as himself in the blocky superhero romp, set to take on just about every platform available to man later this year. Also due out this year, The Sims 4, and EA has finally given us a decent look at the life simulator, releasing a hefty 20-minute chunk of gameplay, which we're happy to share with you.
You simply open up the gallery and bam, you have access to all of the creations, all the content that the Sims community has put together, all right here at your fingertips. Houses, families, individual Sims can all be dragged and integrated directly into your game with the click of a button. It is amazing, you guys.
And check out this one I found earlier. I thought this would be perfect for our party.
The Mesa Mansion?
You know it.
Wink.
So I'm going to grab it. Just take the furnished version of it. Let's plop it right down on our lot. We'll have a party place good to go.
And just like that, we've got an all-new house to play with. This is a house, a lot that somebody else has created out there in the world. And all we have to do is simply integrate it into our game. And now it's a part of our story. And we can do whatever we want with it.
The Sims 4 launches in Australia on Thursday, September 4th, so you are forgiven for taking Friday off work. For more information on any of these stories, or to keep up to date with the latest gaming news, head to playerattack.com. But for now, stick around, we've got plenty more still to come.
There's another Batman Arkham game practically ready to go. How is it that I'm the only person who's sick of Batman? We need a new hero. Yep, I'm talking about Superman again. For every medium the Man of Steel has appeared in, there have been some missteps. However, I've always been able to point to counterexamples where he's performed well. Smallville was awful? Watch Lois and Clark instead. Can't stand Man of Steel? Have a copy of Superman 2. Not a fan of the animated series? Try Justice League Unlimited. There is, however, one glaring exception. There are no good Superman games. Now, that's not to say that it's impossible to make a good game out of Superman, and that's a very important distinction. There are 4 main reasons nobody wants to make a good Superman game, but I have some counter-arguments to show you. You can't make a good Superman game because he's invincible. Okay, first off, he isn't. He's taken beatings before, from the likes of Doomsday, Mongol, Darkseid, Metallo, Bizarro Superman, even ordinary humans like Batman and Lex Luthor. But that isn't the point of this statement. The point is that people claim it's impossible to make an enjoyable game where there's no inherent danger to the player character. If the player can't die, the game is no fun. But then look at the critically and publicly adored LucasArts adventure games from the 1990s. All of them had invincible player characters. Guybrush Threepwood, Sam and Max, Manny Calavera, they're all invincible heroes whose lives were never in real danger, yet were able to star in some of the most exciting games of all time. All this means is the game needs a switch of focus. Create obstacles for Superman to bypass, think laterally about a problem that you would need Superman to solve, and then give him a way to solve it. You can't make a good Superman game because his power set doesn't translate. Superman can do a wide variety of things that were once very hard to actualize. Once. Now we live in an age of the LEGO games, in which player characters already have all of Superman's trademark abilities. There are characters who can fly, shoot lasers out of their eyes, use their ice breath to freeze things, they demonstrate super strength and speed, and are to some degree invulnerable. Add to this incredible level design with clever puzzles and one of the best sandbox ever developed, and that's what a Superman game should be about. Imagine a sprawling metropolis like Vice City or San Andreas that you could explore by flying through. Imagine missions like putting out city fires, stopping bank robberies, and catching people falling from buildings. Imagine all of the things that you could do in GTA 4, a game that came out 6 years ago, and add flying to that. You can't make a good Superman game because he's not an interesting character. If you can't find something interesting about a super strong flying alien whose enemies include a giant monkey, an interdimensional genie, and a space biker, I don't think the problem is with the character. His dual nature, overpoweredness, and sense of right and wrong have kept the comics really interesting for 75 years. And this is a video game. If you don't want Superman to be a nice guy, you go ahead and you play him like a jerk. But even without all of that, even if all of this interesting character stuff wasn't here to mine or rebel against, what does it matter? Link is a blank slate. Mario has literally no personality. They have no inherent characteristics either. They are just the player. And nobody complains that Mario needs to be developed more. This is all leading to the real reason that nobody is trying to make a good Superman game. Nobody has succeeded in doing it before. I'll be honest, I can't argue with this one. The last attempt, Superman 64, routinely shows up on worst games ever's lists. And rightfully so. That said, Superman 64 was 15 years ago. That is literally half a lifetime for me. It's older than some of you. We've gone through 2 console generations in that time. There was no Infamous or Saints Row 4 or any other games back then that showed you how superheroes could work. It's also worth remembering there was no such thing as a good Batman game either until Arkham Asylum. It took someone analyzing what would make Batman fun to play, namely stealth and gadgets, and capitalizing on that formula. All I'm asking is Superman, an utterly fantastic character with great storytelling potential and even more gameplay avenues to explore, gets seen in a different way. A way in where his name isn't gameplay poison.
Hi, I'm Jessica Citizen from Player Attack. We're here at E3 2014. One of the big surprising things about this show is the way that the major console manufacturers have been supporting indie games. We have an indie game developer here with us. This is Mike from Other Ocean. He's been working on IDARB.
You say that. It's a hard word to say, isn't it? Like IDARB. It's an acronym, ultimately, for It Draws a Red Box. But that was hard to say very quickly, so we said IDARB.
But there are no red box drawing in your game anymore, right?
Well, you know what? There's actually, you can do some things in the game to activate different power-ups in the game from Twitter and Twitch. And one of the kind of throwbacks is red box with a hashtag. If you do that, it turns everybody in the game into a red box again. So.
Well, there you go. But all right, so we should backtrack to what the actual game actually is. What is IDARB?
I've been here for 3 days and I still don't know yet. But like people seem to say this, and I'll just run with what they say. But it's kind of an e-sport, 8-player multiplayer game that's influenced by Bomberman and Sensible Soccer and Smash Brothers and NHL hockey and FIFA. So there we go. Those are the popular ones people say. But it's really just like a sports game. It's like somebody else called it future basketball. So it's kind of like that. And you can play 4-on-4, 1 against 7. You know, Evolve has their 1 against 4 or whatever. We can do that too. We did that before them. But ultimately, it's a sport game. It's a fun multiplayer couch game.
It definitely is a fun couch game. We were playing it the other night. It's the sort of thing where you really want to be sitting very close so you can just smack the other person for doing the wrong thing.
Absolutely. It's like those old days I used to play games in college or anything that were like that. Like the old NHL Genesis game that people have been talking about. Like that was like a bloodfest, like literally, physically a bloodfest when you played that game.
So the game itself, kind of, it's like basketball. You have a ball, you have to get the ball into the goal on either side, and you have another team who's trying to stop that from happening. What are we looking like while we're actually doing this? Are we playing with realistic, high-tech graphics and realistic people?
Nice setup. No, you're not. Go figure. No, it's 8x16 sprites, we call them. That's the old terminology. But you have a full palette of like 250 colors to make these characters. In the game, you can make them. You can go to our website and make them. But the cool thing is you can actually get this QR code, put it on your phone, put it on a t-shirt or whatever, walk anywhere where the game is and scan it in and put your characters into the game. We also have tournaments and all this stuff in team editing, so you can put all those characters onto a team and have these big tournaments at different events and all that sort of thing. So it's really neat. And like I hesitate to call it pixel art because it really is more like a blocky style, because we're not trying to be very retro. We're actually just trying to make this kind of new style.
And you don't have to make people, again, is the other thing. I think the game that we were playing the other night, I was playing as a couple of strips of bacon.
Bacon is one of the most popular characters in the game right now, and I think that was kind of a throwaway team that somebody had made and put in there. But we tracked these stats at the show. The breakfast team is the most popular team in the game right now, which is awesome. You can play as orange juice, bacon, or sausage, or eggs.
Well, we won, so obviously it is the best team.
Bacon always wins, right? Bacon always wins.
You are a part of the ID at Xbox program. Can you just recap that for people who might not be aware that Xbox is actively supporting indie devs?
Oh, yeah. So I started this game in January by just tweeting a picture of, I drew a red box, and I'm like, what should I do with this? And all these people responded, were giving me all these ideas and all this stuff. So I started making the game, and it was about 3 or 4 weeks after I started that Microsoft reached out. They had seen it on Twitter, and they're like, hey, this would be an excellent Xbox One game. Would you be interested? And we're like, of course, why not? They sent us kits. They signed us up for the whole ID at Xbox program, which is the independent developers program at Xbox. And we're among many developers that they've reached out to, and they've been giving us support since then. Every week they check in and make sure we have everything we need, and they give us like great booth real estate. Like we have 2 kiosks here at the Microsoft booth at E3, which is amazing for little guys. You don't get that anywhere else. So that was amazing, and they've been awesome to work with.
What sort of reaction have you been getting from people, not just on this show floor? You've been showing it off around the place. How have people been reacting to this game that nobody's able to explain?
It's usually, I don't know what I can say on camera, but it's usually expletive. And then they walk up with total curiosity of like, why is this even here? And then they pick up the controller and play it, and they're like, I love this game. I'm buying an Xbox One to play this. So it's been that path, which is awesome.
We've been hearing great things. People have been buzzing about the indie stuff, and then people have been saying, and then there's this iDarb thing. It's all hashtags and bacon and basketball and...
It's tough for people to digest.
Bacon.
I was the best at what I did. A hacker. A thief. I got in, got out. No one got hurt. Until I discovered something I was never meant to see. That's when they came for me, but killed her. Now, I'm coming for them.
When you tend to spend the majority of your time playing pretty much every new release game that comes out, you know, instead of fostering meaningful relationships with other humans and remembering what the sun feels like, you start to get really good at noticing patterns. Much like the movie industry has been for years, AAA gaming releases are kinda hitting a stagnation now, where the big publishers only seem to be happy or financially safe by releasing the same stuff over and over again. Every now and again though, God bless them, they try and mix it up a bit and create a Frankenstein's monster out of other successful IPs. That's what Ubisoft's Watch Dogs screamed to me. Real talk though, just for a second, before I crush any embers of kindness with my metaphoric boot heel, the game has some redeeming features, I suppose. Watch Dogs does have some interesting gaming mechanics, and the visuals are pretty darn good. as you'd expect from a next-gen flagship game. And the collector's edition came in a big old box with enough knickknacks to keep you entertained for like a whole 4 minutes. And now I've run out of straws to grasp, let's get critical. My major problem with Watch Dogs is, in a word, dissonance. This game lacks a sense of cohesion on both a technical and artistic level, which results from the sum of its parts being more at odds with each other than an eHarmony matchup between Jefferson Davis and Rosa Parks. We'll start with the narrative as a whole. Watch Dogs is about a hacker called Aiden Pierce, who gets in over his head during an electronic bank heist, which results in hitmen accidentally killing his niece in an attempt on his life. The usual mundane plot twists ensue, and he ends up uncovering a web of corruption throughout his city. Steve Larsoon this is not, but that's not the problem. This could have easily been an emotionally engaging story about a man coping with both his checkered past and grief, trying to reconnect with loved ones he's become alienated from whilst figuring out who killed his niece. But instead we get an arsehole with the cognition of a maladjusted 13-year-old boy who's been bestowed with all the powers of the internets. And a shallow, violent revenge fantasy plays out. Now the plot tries to tell me, less than show me, that this hunt for justice consumes his every waking hour. Problem is, they decided to make it an open world sandbox game, and apparently this means infinite side quests. You know, cause GTA has them. If he's so hell-bent on finding these guys, to the point where he's having PTSD-style flashbacks, then why the hell am I drag racing for money? Clearing out gang hideouts, stopping human trafficking, fucking around shooting things with my finger in VR. Why? Why the hell does he care? Well, he doesn't. It's to unlock perks and stuff, obviously, which just sticks out as a really gamey element, forced in there because it's expected in this genre.
You want revenge? This phone can turn the city into a weapon.
Oh boy, have we only just scratched the surface. Let's delve a little deeper. There's another layer of dissonance between myself and the character, and then again between the character and the world he inhabits. Personally, I don't care what happens to Aiden. He's a completely uninteresting character with the depth of a puddle, and worse yet, exhibit traits I despise. Case in point, physical assault on a female character, because he's confused why she's a girl and using the online handle bad boy. Seriously. And worse again, she later defends his actions as a necessary part of interrogation. Yeah, that happens. Moving on. The last thing I want to address is the gameplay disconnect. Watch Dogs doesn't know what it wants to be. It gives you a plethora of hacking abilities and environments are littered with things to interact with, all while being clearly designed to facilitate Assassin's Creed-style sneaking gameplay. Only there's one glaring problem. They also gave me a gun. I get it. You can orchestrate an elaborate accident to befall the enemies before you. Or you could just shoot them. Bam! Problem literally solved. I rarely used my hacking abilities because I didn't need to. Which begs the question, am I a hacker? Or just a deranged lone gunman? All in all, Watch Dogs is just meh. It suffers from not having its own identity and properly integrated game mechanics. All these problems I had with it were just so much more apparent because it was boring, and I felt like I was playing an imitation of a much better game. There's concepts buried here which could make for a much better sequel, which you already know they're working on, if they only take the time to flesh them out properly. I'll leave you with this. The multiplayer aspect of this single player experience, that should have been the actual game. Think how many times you've heard that statement.
And that's about it for this edition of Player Attack. Thanks for watching. Next week, Jimmy the Geek chats to Ubisoft about Assassin's Creed Unity. I get a little bit excited about the new content for Disney Infinity 2.0, and we take a few moments to walk through the virtual history books of Valiant Hearts, The Great War. In the meantime, you can catch us on playerattack.com. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And if you've got something you want to say, send us an email, mailbox@playerattack.com, or just hop on our forums. Till next week, I'm Jessica Citizen, and this is Player Attack.